You guys know that I've always said what I think, and I'm not afraid to just say my opinion, even if I know it's unpopular, so here it goes. I think Jake Paul hits harder than Alex Pereira. But I'm lying a little bit because you guys just got clickbaited a little bit. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. And we do this series once every few months. So we've done it in October before I even had any subscribers. We did it about a few months ago, but we're back. I've been wanting to do this for a while. Dumbest MMA tweets. I'm going to be reviewing about 10 or so MMA dumb tweets. Rate them on how dumb they are. Do I actually agree? Is there a point at all? And you guys really seem to love the series because the series always does well. This is the third one. If you guys want to go check them out, I'll put them in the corner. So enough wasting time. Please hit the subscribe button, like, comment, share, and all that. If you guys want to send me some dumb tweets, you guys could at me on Twitter, whatever. I don't care. I'll maybe make a part 4 if this video does well. Alright, so let's just get into it. Tapping out 2 minutes into the biggest fight of your life is absolute cowardice. Obviously, this is referring to Ciryl Gane. Obviously, he just lost to John Jones via guillotine choke in 2 minutes of the fight. And, it doesn't take a genius to explain this tweet. He's saying, basically, he shouldn't have tapped out. Basically saying that he gave up. And I never got this argument of saying, tapping out is giving up on a submission. There are a few submissions that are just purely pain-based that, yes, people do give up on. But this choke was in deep. Ciryl Gane was either going to sleep or just had a tap. I don't think that there's any shame in tapping. At the end of the day, if you tap it out, it doesn't make you better. You still got submitted. You're still going to sleep anyway. I don't really get the argument. I know a lot of people are like, oh, you should just go to sleep. First of all, I guarantee you this Twitter user probably has never even picked up any mixed martial arts or anything like that. And even if they did, I doubt they even have competed. So it's how are you going to criticize Ciryl Gane from going out there, facing one of the greatest of all time, and just getting beat? He got caught at the end of the day, and it happens to everybody. You just get caught sometimes, and that's that. So no, I don't think this is cowardice at all. I think this is actually extremely dumb. So I'm going to give it on a scale of 1 to dumb, I'm going to have to give it a very dumb and just plain ignorant in my opinion. Biggest flukes in UFC history. Number 1, Grasso subbing Val. Number 2, Rose KOing Zhang. Both of those will never happen again. They can fight 100 times, and that doesn't happen again. That's a certified fluke if I've ever seen one. The word fluke gets tossed around a lot. There are a lot of flukes. I reserve flukes for more of the Tom Aspinall, Curtis Blade situation where there's usually an injury. That's where I find flukes are. And I think you could acknowledge, especially in that Rose fight going into the rematch, I said, hey, Zhang Weili got caught. I thought Zhang Weili was going to win the rematch. Obviously, that didn't happen. But I think there's a difference between saying, hey, someone got caught and they can win in a rematch, and saying it's a fluke. Because saying that Zhang Weili getting knocked out by Rose Namajunas or Alexa Grasso subbing Valentin Shevchenko, those were not flukes. And even if they lose their rematches, obviously Rose won the rematch, but even if Alexa Grasso does win the rematch, it's not a fluke. We saw Alexa Grasso literally train for the situation. This was something that she had literally trained for, so it's not a fluke. If Valentina Shevchenko makes the same mistake in the rematch, I'm guaranteeing you the same thing is going to happen. So especially Alexa Grasso is not a fluke. That is just something she trained for, and it's not a fluke. She just caught Valentina Shevchenko. I understand if you want to say, hey, in the rematch, she's not going to catch her, she's not going to make the mistake, and she'll win the fight. Okay, that's an argument to be had. Rose KOing Zhang Weili was also just skill-based. She feinted the kick going low and then went up high. What are we going to call, all knockouts flukes now? What's going on? On a scale of 1 to dumb, this is, yeah, extremely dumb. Normally we have some sensible tweets, but so far we have had none. These just make no sense. Shavkat Rakhmanov's tweets, who's the grappler now, at Wonderboy, which I don't know why he tweeted Wonderboy. I guess Wonderboy was saying something, but that doesn't sound like him. Anyway, KSI Fandom tweets, Paddy gonna humble you. This is probably a troll, but I'm just gonna have to review it anyway. We all know the GOAT, the great and overweight, Paddy Pimblett. Talked about in the last video how he would submit Khabib, and it turns out he could also submit Shavkat Rakhmonov despite having a notable size advantage. So there isn't really much to say on that. I think obviously this tweet is probably the most sensible out of all of them. I'd probably give it a 10 out of 10. I don't even know why it's included in the video in my opinion. Paddy definitely submits him in probably 15 seconds. Alright, so it's a picture of Stipe Miocic. Most undeserving title shot in recent memory. Man has 0 ranked wins right now, has spent 2 years in the Shadow Realm, and is getting a title shot. It's crazy that people are saying that Stipe is undeserving. I can kind of get this. Look, Stipe hasn't been active for 2 years. There's a lot of question marks of him coming, and how good is he really going to be? I mean, we last saw him get brutally knocked out by Francis, and in a perfect world, yes, maybe you'd want Stipe to have at least fought one time, even fight a guy like Tai Tuivasa just to kind of get the ring rust out, just to see how he is. A matchup that isn't necessarily so hard for him. Like a Tai Tuivasa fight, I would imagine he just grapples with him. Yes, of course, Tai could catch him, but, most likely I think Stipe would win that. But it's not a perfect world. I think that Stipe definitely deserves this, and a lot of people got this confused because I made a video calling Stipe delusional. My argument in the video was saying he was delusional because he thought the UFC was going to give him a title shot. At the time, I thought that the UFC would no way give him a title shot. Turns out I was completely wrong on that take. Apparently, the UFC is totally fine with giving him a title shot. I never argued, hey, Stipe doesn't deserve a title shot. I think he deserves a title shot. I mean, the guy is literally the greatest heavyweight of all time. I mean, yes, you could argue Fedor, but right now I'm talking about the UFC. I mean, that's just another argument that you can make. So I think he deserves a title shot 1000%, but I can understand people's criticism. So this one isn't so dumb. I think it's kind of on the border of dumb, kind of a little across the border of dumb, but not too bad. I just disagree, but I can understand people's arguments there. Now we have a classic from the channel, Jake Shields. I mean, he should just be a Hall of Fame member on this series. Jake Shields says, if teens were forced to do cage fight once a year, most of their mental health issues would disappear. Anxiety. After a cage fight in front of your peers, your old worries will feel silly. Depression. Now time to be depressed when you're training for a fight. ADD. Getting punched in the face will make you ultra focused. Sadly, I don't think that this is a troll tweet, but I mean, the real argument here is you can name tons of fighters that still struggle with anxiety, you know, that publicly said this. I think the last thing you want to do for a kid that's anxious is just throw them in a cage fight where everyone is watching. Like, imagine being anxious just to talk to other people, let alone get thrown in a cage and have to fight to the death for like 3 rounds. Yeah, that's probably not the best option. Terrible take right there. It's kind of even laughable. Like, on a scale of 1 to dumb, this isn't even like dumb, this is just laughable. Like, I'm just gonna like look at this when I'm sad on a rainy day, you know, and just give myself a good chuckle. Like, what in God's name are you even talking about? Alright, the title of the video, Jake Paul hits harder than Alex Pereira. Do we even have to go through this? I mean, Alex Pereira, obviously we know that he has knocked out guys. I mean, he knocked out Sean Strickland, knocked out Israel Adesanya, knocked out tons of dudes in kickboxing. You could see some of his highlights, they're just cringe. And he's knocking dudes out with that left hook. Like, Jake Paul, yes, he's been knocking out dudes with right hand, and Jake Paul has power. I think people severely overestimate the power, because like Alex Pereira is the type of guy that'll knock out anybody. Jake Paul's really only knocked out dudes / knocked down guys that have had long careers, that have taken tons of damage. The fact that Anderson Silva was able to take a lot of power shots from Jake really surprised me. I thought Anderson was gonna get knocked out in that fight, but like I said, Alex is a guy that'll knock out dudes in their prime. He knocked out Izzy, so I don't think this is even a debate. Obviously Alex hits harder, he's bigger anyway, so no surprise. Jake knocks out dudes with big overhands that he swings from the hip. Alex Pereira will knock you out with a short left hook. Like, there's no comparison. This is extremely dumb. Obviously anybody knows this is probably a troll tweet anyway. Like, let's get real. Misfits 005 is way more enjoyable than the cheat John Jones. If any of you guys have been watching the channel for a while, I think you guys know I actually like Misfits. I praise Misfits a lot. I didn't watch the last event. I usually don't watch the events, if I'm being honest. I usually just watch the ones where KSI fights, but I like what they're doing, and I really hope that they go into pro boxing, because what they're doing is pretty smart. I like that they don't really care necessarily about having it pro bouts, even though that could be pretty controversial when you have KSI fighting and it's an exhibition bout. It can get controversial there, but I don't mind them being like, hey, we don't care, like, we're just here to have fun, because that's what's ruining boxing, is like all these belts, all this confusion. It's not simple. Like, Misfits is only using one belt, just like, hey man, we're just gonna have one champion. I hope this isn't one of those things where KSI, you know, he stops boxing and it just dies off. It doesn't seem like that, because they signed a major deal with DAZN, but I really hope they go into pro boxing. I've heard that they're gonna go into pro boxing. I think their lane should be the crossover boxing. Like, you know, we saw the Hasim Rahman and Vitor Belfort fight originally be the main event before it was canceled. Fights like that would get me interested. You know, maybe have like Mike Perry on a card. I think that's their lane, and I actually don't mind Misfits. They're very fun, but as much as I want to praise Misfits, obviously John Jones is way more exciting. Let's be real. I mean, I'm sure there's an audience that probably considers Misfits more exciting. Audiences that don't really watch MMA, UFC, that just watch crossover boxing and really care about the YouTubers and influencers. But for anybody that's like a combat sports fan, this fight had more stakes, was more of a stacked card, let's be honest, and more professionals. I think more combat sports fans would rather this than Misfits, let's be honest. Khabib used to out-wrestle DC in training. He can easily handle Brock. If you think that DC got out-wrestled by Khabib, you're just delusional. Like, DC is a big man. Like, let's be real. Khabib is also a big man, but DC is just on another universe. No way Khabib used to out-wrestle DC. And to even consider Brock Lesnar, like, that he could, let's be real. I mean, Brock Lesnar is more juiced up than goddamn Bane. Like, let's be honest. He's not handling Brock Lesnar. Like, this person's not even talking about pound for pound. Like, he's just saying, oh, he out-wrestled DC, he can handle Brock. Like, first of all, Brock is tough for DC. Let's be real. Like, a wrestling, I think an MMA fight, DC obviously wins, but if we're talking about pure wrestling, I mean, Brock is pretty juiced up. He obviously looks like a fucking monster, so who knows with that, but to say Khabib is just a joke, this is extremely dumb. Last one, someone posted kind of like a picture kind of tributing Ronda Rousey, kind of just saying to put some respect on her name because she kind of paved the way for women's MMA, and someone replied, women's MMA deserves no respect. I think a lot of people, and I've said this a long time on my channel, people disrespect the shit out of women's MMA, and I don't think it deserves the disrespect it does. I think the featherweight division and bantamweight division are the weakest divisions right now, and the flyweight was a weak division for a long time, but I have been predicting for months that Valentina Shevchenko was going to get the throne by the end of this year. If you watch videos from last month, I said I'd be very surprised if Valentina Shevchenko is the champion, and if she is, she's the greatest of all time then, just because there are killers coming out of that flyweight. Alexa Grasso I thought was going to lose, but I just thought it was a bad stylistic matchup. I think Alexa Grasso is extremely high level, would give a lot of other girls problems, but I just thought it was a bad stylistic matchup for Valentina. I thought Valentina would make it more of a kickboxing fight, mix in the takedowns. I didn't expect Alexa Grasso to dominate dominate on the feet as much as she did. Like, if they had like a kickboxing fight, I think Alexa Grasso's winning that. And the strawweight division too is an underrated division. I find now being kind of disrespected, but for a while it's really good. Rose Namajunas, Shungwei Lee, Carla Esparza. I think the bantamweight and featherweight division could severely use improvement. I mean, the bantamweight division really doesn't have too much talent, and I think we're seeing what Valentina Shevchenko, and not to disrespect Valentina or say that she's not good, but her level of competition thus far has not been anywhere where it is now. We're going to see a lot better flyweights, and I think we're going to see with the bantamweight division in maybe the next 3 years, maybe even sooner. I think we're going to see better and better fighters from each division as women MMA grows, and who knows, maybe we'll have a real featherweight ranking. So yeah, this is extremely dumb. Like, I just think it's disrespectful, especially since any woman on the roster would probably beat this dude's ass. It's extremely dumb, like, let's be real. But that's going to conclude the video. Dumbest MMA tweets. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think is the dumbest MMA tweet of the video. Let me know in the comment section below. Share, like, subscribe, and all that, and I'll see you guys in the next one.